Baruch Hashem, Baruch Haba, Shalom and welcome. Here we are again at Congregation Mashiach Yisrael for class 5 of our Hebrew 101 class. I'm Scott Siskin, and today we're going to be covering prefixes and suffixes. And to be truthful with you, this is my favorite class because I think if we can master this material, being able to identify prefixes and suffixes and thereby identify the root, you'll be able to learn Hebrew much faster and you'll be much more able to learn Hebrew as you go through the Siddur, the prayer book, or as you go through reading the Bible as you study. So hopefully, with God's help, this will be a very useful class for you. So, no further ado, I'd like to begin with open with a word of prayer. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, we are thankful. We're so appreciative that you've given us the opportunity to study your Torah, to learn your wisdom, to learn your heart, and to become more intimate with you. Please be with us here tonight. Bless us with your wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that we should be able to integrate everything that you have for us tonight so we can hasten the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days. And we'll end with a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us and betroths us with his commandments and commands us to engage in the study of Torah, in the words of Torah. Amen.
Amen.
So, little housekeeping from last week. Last week, of course, we covered the shoresh, the roots. We understood that Hebrew is a root language. As Hebrew is a root language, typically you're going to find 3-letter roots that are going to be kind of the core of each word, and that's going to give you an idea for vocabulary so that you should be able to identify different things. For example, we spoke last week about the concept of the root kuf dalid shin, which means holiness, right? So kadosh would be holy, kedusha would be holiness, kedushin would be betrothal, kadesha would be a prostitute. All different kinds of ideas stemming from the idea of set apart, right? A husband and wife are set apart for each other. A prostitute is set apart for impurity. God is set apart because there's nothing like God, right? And so this is the root, the 3-letter root. Similarly, we should have dots if we're just doing a root. Sorry, totally right though. So, it's most important, when we go through this class, again, you're going to get out of it as much as you put into it, but we cover a lot more information than you're probably actually going to need to know. Of course, remember, most important thing for you guys to know is how to identify letters, what sound the letter makes, what sounds the vowels make, and we're going to go a little bit further with that today. When we first covered letters, we spoke about 4 aspects to each letter: the way it sounds, the way it looks. What do we cover? The way it sounds, the way it looks, the gematria, the numerical value. Thank you. As well as the meaning of the word itself, okay? So, in that sense, we're trying to hopefully give you a deeper appreciation for some of what God is trying to get at through Hebrew. Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the Alter Rebbe, writes in his book of Tanya, in book 2 of Tanya, how God created the entire world with 10 utterances. Yehi or, let there be light. Yehi rakia, let there be a firmament. And from those letters, each letter represents a certain cosmic energy that allows God to, almost like a chemical formula, right? You have H2O is 2 atoms of a hydrogen and 1 atom of an oxygen, and that makes water, right? So if you add 2 energies of a mem and 1 energy of a yud, this is mayim, this is water in Hebrew, right? It's the same thing. So that's why it's important for us to recognize the root, because if we can recognize the root, we understand the different energies that are going into this creation of God. So in our Tanya class, and this again might be a little advanced for some people, and it's just something that we were doing in our class for Tanya, but I think it might be helpful. So we're gonna go ahead and try to do it. The root for the word dog. Do you guys know the root for the word dog? I'll give you a hint. It's that. Chaf, lamed, and bait, or bait. Chalev. Chalev is a dog, okay? So by knowing the meaning of each letter, you can understand why this is the chemical formula, so to speak, for dog. Okay? So let's go through it. Remember what we talked about the chaf? The chaf is a line on top, it's a line on the bottom, and they're connected, right? The chaf has the numerical value of 20. God's 10 attributes, our 10 attributes, or the 10 commandments for us, right? How we relate to a higher power, right?
More clearly seen in a simple block.
More clearly seen in a simple block.
You're describing right now.
Right, right. Or in the stam, even more apparent there. So the concept of the kaf is, again, crown, right? Recognizing that there's something higher and something lower. So if we're talking about a dog, right? A dog, it's always man and dog, right? Dog and his master. And this actually goes all the way back to Adam. So it's the idea that we're on the top of that relationship and the dog's on the bottom of that relationship. Similarly,
the difference with a cat is he thinks he's on top.
The difference with a cat is that he thinks he's on top. That's why this doesn't spell cat. Similarly, what did we learn about the letter lamed? The meaning of the word lamed means
Teacher.
teacher, right? You can train a dog. In fact, dogs are very easy to train if you're good at it. Or dogs are very trainable, I guess you could say. Similarly, the bait, what does the bait represent?
House.
A house, right? Dog's an animal that can be with you in your house, right? So all of these things are the essence of dog. And that's true for every root in Hebrew, okay? And we're not going to go into more than just that, but I just wanted to show you that so that you can have a little understanding. Questions on that? Okay. So that's why it's so important to learn the shoresh, the root. And if we're going to try to learn the root, it's helpful to know what is not the root, right? We spoke last week, every root has to have 2 or 3 letters, and those letters have to be present in the word. You can't take out a root letter, right? But you could add or take out servant letters pretty much as you want. So we need to identify servant letters in this class. As such, today we're going to be on page, let's see here. It's going to be on, we're going to start on this page, so see if I can get the camera here. Prefixes and suffixes. And again, this is my favorite class because if you could learn this, it's going to help you identify roots, which will help you to learn Hebrew over the course of the next year or 2 years as you study and pray on your own, okay? Very important to learn these.
Now, there were no specific pages on the Soresh.
Yeah, they're not numbered, I'm sorry.
On the roots, right?
Yeah, none of the pages are really numbered, so I do apologize about that, but they come from a couple different sources, so. So, we're going to go right down the list here, and we'll begin. So, pick us a word that we could start with. Give us a noun. Mayim. Mayim? Well, let's not use Mayim. Let's use,
Chanun.
Chanun? Sure, why not?
Whatever.
We could use chen. Chen. Chen is grace. Okay? I like that. That works fine. So how do you spell chen? There's our chen. Chet and nun spells chen. Okay? Chen means grace. The first prefix, and we're going to do prefixes first and then suffixes. The first prefix on our list here is the vav. And it's a really great place to start because you're going to see it all the time. All the time. Excuse me. So, if you have a vav that's beginning your word, and it's usually going to be like this with a shava vowel underneath it, but not always. Can you pronounce this?
V'chein.
V'chein, right?
Oh.
If you have a vav as the prefix of the word, it means and. Vav in the beginning means and, okay? So this no longer says grace, it says and grace, right? In English, it's 2 words. In Hebrew, it's a prefix on the root, okay? Okay. So, vav in the beginning, this is and. Sometimes, you won't see it like that, but you'll see it like this. Can you pronounce that?
Bait.
Bait. What is a bait?
House.
Bait means house. Bait means house. So sometimes you're not going to see, before we did like this, right? Where there is a vav and a shava. So this would be v'beit. Typically, you won't actually see this like this. You'll see it in the second form of the vav as a prefix, which means and. The second form is not v,
Ooh.
but u. Exactly right.
Uvate.
Uveit. Uveit.
Notice that the bet becomes a softer.
That's true as well. That's true as well. So, this could be potentially confusing for people who are coming into it, right? Because they see a vowel at the beginning of the word. You can't just have a vowel hanging out. This is the exception. If there's a u in the beginning of the word, it means and. And. Okay. Baruch Hashem. So, this is actually why I didn't want to use Mayim before. When are you going to find that your vav in the beginning of the word, which means and, this now says and house. When are you going to find that it's u and not v? When are you going to see it with the u sound and not the shava, which would be a v bait?
When?
When?
It's going to be prior to a bait that I've read. It always turns it into a book.
Usually it's in front of a bait, and this is the kind of thing you kind of get in the language and you kind of feel like that doesn't feel right? So I'll give you the rule. The rule is, if your vav comes before a bait, a mem, or a pei, or a fe, right? If your vav, which means and, comes before any of these three letters, bait, mem, and pei, it's going to be u, and it's not going to be v. Okay? It's going to be u, and it's not going to be v.
And it's going to turn the pay into a fay and the bait.
Usually you're
into a
going to make
bait.
that second letter softer,
Right.
right? And take the dagish out of the pei, so it's going to be like ufaratsta.
Okay.
Or instead of, it wouldn't be ubeit, it would be uveit. Exactly.
Okay.
So the u normally will precede a bait mem
Or a fe.
or fe.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it always means and.
Always means and.
As a prefix before those nouns that
As a
start
prefix before these root of whatever.
with what roots. Okay.
Could be a noun, could be an adjective, could be whatever. And remember, vav means connection, right? It's the connector. So this is connecting one word to another word, right? If we said maya uveit, it would be water and house, right? I mean, that's just
Okay.
doesn't mean anything, but there you
Right.
go. So, is this the only time you're going to find a u in front of these three letters? The answer is no.
No.
Also, let's pick another word here. You're going to find it with u and not v in front of a local shava, okay? So give me a word that starts with a shava. How about shema? Shema. Okay? Shema. So Shema means hear, listen, right? Take it in, take it all in. Because and this is a little bit south.
A little south.
Sorry, it was a little low. Because the first letter of the word is a shava, which is a silent vowel,
Okay.
it's not going to be v'shma, it's going to be ushma. Okay? Does that make sense?
Ushama.
Ushma.
Yes, so
Or
just say
ushma.
all of that again.
Okay.
please.
So, a v in the beginning of a word. There you go. V'dag. That means and fish, right?
Okay.
It's always going to be v with the two dots.
Right.
A vav with two dots that makes the v sound in front of everything. All the time, always.
Mhm.
Except if it comes before a bait, a mem, or a fe, or a local shava.
Or a local shiva.
Okay?
A shiva under the first letter
First
of
letter.
the root.
Right, precisely.
A local shava?
Right. So
Vocal shava.
local, like it's
Local.
coming next. It's right here. It's right now.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. So if the first letter of the word is a silent vowel, then it's going to be u. If the first letter of the word is beit mem or fe, it's going to be u. Every other time it's going to be v. Make sense? And this all means and. It just means and the next word. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Running for the door yet? It gets easier. I'm just kidding. It's going to get a lot harder. It gets easier too, though.
You both can be right, can you? Yes.
Now, it might be worth saying, and we're not going to talk a lot about modern Hebrew, but it's probably worth saying that in modern Hebrew, it's pretty much always v. You will go ahead and say, like, ben means son, right? So in modern Hebrew, you just kind of, the way that I've heard it at least, they just kind of ignore this rule. So
They go both.
it'll be v'ben, right? Bat v'ben, daughter and son. But again, we're doing biblical Hebrew here, and as it shows up in the Torah, it's going to be like that.
Is it because uvein is a different word? Uvein?
Yes, but no. So to Bob's question.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. To Bob's question, ben means son. Bain means between. It's the root word for bina, understanding. So between this and that, bain yom uvain laila, right, is between day and night. He makes a distinction between day and night, between the sacred and the profane, etc., etc. So that's a different word, okay? If you take, this is between, that's son, okay? Different root. 2-letter root, the other was a 3-letter root. So good question. So yes, but no, if that helps.
There's mine.
Perfect. Now we're doing good. Any other questions on and, the prefix and, the prefix vav in the beginning of the word? Oh, one more point on vav. Often you'll have a string of prefixes before a root word, okay? So when that happens, the vav is always first. Always first, okay? So, I don't have my siddur here, and I didn't even bring it, which is a darn shame. Do you got a siddur?
Yes.
Baruch Hashem.
Not sure you'll be really happy with it, but because it's the purple siddur.
Oh, does it have Hebrew words in it?
Transliterated?
I just need to know how to spell
Or
it.
The Hebrew, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
Hebrew.
uh-huh.
Actually, I think I got one here. So, we have,
What did you want to look at?
that's okay, I think I'm going to just try to do it. Laha.
Okay, sir.
Laha chazir means to return. He's like, it comes from the root word chazir, which means to return. But when you say, we find it in our prayers, it's ulaha chazir bi, right? He returns my soul within me.
Oh, that's not.
So, right, the root word here is, that's fine. The root word here is chet, zayin, resh, right? The yud's a servant letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got 3 prefixes on it, okay? But the and always comes first. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay?
Okay.
And always comes first.
Okay.
Similarly, a hey always comes closest to the word. And we'll get to that when we talk about hey. All right, that's it. Any other questions on and? And then? Okay. Next, bait. Bait is good. Let's pick us another word here. Kos. Kos, how about kos? Kos means cup. Cup. So, if you have a bait as a prefix, then this is going to be a preposition, okay? So, when I was a kid, I learned prepositions. If you want to know if it's a preposition, just put it by the barrel, or blank the barrel. So, in is a preposition, right? So, in the barrel works, right? Chair is not a preposition, so chair the barrel doesn't work, right? So this is a preposition. Because, could be the or the, would be in my cup, or in the cup, or in a cup, literally is what this says. In a cup, in a cup. But it could be in, what else does it say here? On, with, by, associated with, anything in regards to distance, you know? Preposition, it's a preposition if you have the bait in the beginning. You gotta learn English words to learn Hebrew words, it's crazy. So, bakos, in a cup, in a cup.
Right. In, with, by.
In, with, by, near, on, beside, throughout, anything like that. Now, this is one of those special letters. Anything in Hebrew, you always assume the words is and okay? So typically we don't spell those words out. So, bakos means in a cup, or, yeah, in a cup. The next prefix that we're going to do is...
In the cup would be a little different.
Right, exactly where I'm going. So, the next prefix we're going to do is hey. A hey in the beginning means the. It means the or of. Like we say, Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. Okay? So, if I wanted to say not in a cup, because look at the vowel under the bait here. It's a Shiva. So this means in a cup. Okay? But you don't put bihakos if you want to say in the cup, because the Torah is sparing with words, in letters. So instead, you change the vowel to a patach, okay? To a sound. So it's not bakos, which would be in a cup, but it's bakos, which means in the cup, the definite article, the one we've been talking about, the cup that you should know about. Now we haven't been talking about a cup, so it doesn't make sense. But
So hakos is the cup.
hakos, the cup. Bikos, let's write another one here.
In the cup is bakos.
Okay. So this going from top to bottom would be in a cup, in the cup, the cup. Okay?
Because the ba is like
Takes the
ba
hay and
the
incorporates
ha,
it together.
Turns it into ba.
Ba, right.
Would that be referred to as the defective spelling? Was that something else? That's not leave because it's leaving out the hay.
It's leaving out the hay, but it's not called defective, no.
Not called defective.
That's only in regards usually to vowels and yuds pretty much.
But you see a root and you see a bait.
Before it, any root with any bait before it is going to mean in whatever that root is.
Patak.
But if you see with the it's not going to be in whatever, it's going to be in the whatever.
Is that a patak or is that a kamash?
This is a pataka. Kamats is with the
Sort
hat.
of like,
You very, very rarely see it like this. This means like a very formal, in like the one that we all know about and everyone's always known about kind of a thing, like a very presidential, formal kind of a majestic in the. So normally you'll see it like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's bait, and we did kind of cover hay as well. Let's see here. The only other thing to remember, and there's actually noted this on your sheet, like before we had that long string of prefixes, there were like 3 prefixes before the root word.
mm-hmm.
The vav, which means and, always comes first in that big long string. The ha, which means the or of, is always going to come closest to the root, okay? So the vav, so this is always going to be vihakos, and the cup, right? Vihakos, and the cup, okay? It's always going to be vihakos. It will never be havakos, okay? The hay is always closest to the root. The vav's always furthest away. And then I think those are the only 2 that have those rules.
Right.
Okay.
Because the hay is always an article. It's always the.
Definite article,
the
right?
ha. It's always
Right.
a definite article.
Hey means definite article, or the best way you could do it in English is the. Hey means the. If you have a hey in the beginning of the word, it means the. If you have a vav in the beginning of the word, it means and. If you have a bait in the beginning of the word, it means in. With some other nuance and information there too. So,
So if we were to say, and in the cup,
mhm.
it would be, let me see.
That's a great idea. And in the cup. How would we write that? Let me erase this stuff first. And we'll do an experiment. It's like not that one.
Habakos.
Ah, you beat me to
No,
it.
no, is it? Oh, no, and then I just broke the rule.
Yes, you did. No, you didn't break the rule. But,
V'hakos. V'hakos.
so, how do we spell it? And the cup. And in the cup. And in the cup.
Habakos. Or don't, vabakos. Vabakos.
Vabakos.
Vabakos.
Vabakos, right?
Vabakos.
Or no, it would be ubakos because you would don't want to break the rule. It's a bait, right?
Uvakos.
Uvakos, right.
Oh my gosh, okay.
So u.
So that was a complicated one.
Yeah, not bad. Okay. Uvakos. This is and in the cup. You see that? And in the cup.
Uvakos.
How would you say and in a cup? This is and in the cup.
Ubakos. Ubakos.
Uvkos. Yeah?
Or uvkos.
Uvkos.
Oh, it would be with Shabbat.
Right.
Uvkos.
It wouldn't be uvakos in the cup. It would be uvkos or uvakos, right? Which is in a cup. Give me a cup and put something in it, right? Any cup. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want to make sure you're
V'hakos is
comfortable.
a cup.
Bukos
Ooh.
in a cup.
But it would be uvakos. Because you
Uva.
use the u.
In-
We change the bait to a v.
Right, right. And you'll see that a bunch. These are two extraordinarily common prefixes. So, and this is helpful because when you start looking at words that you find in the Torah or anywhere, you're going to see these two letters together like this in front of words all the time. So you're going to know instantly, oh, chop that off, it's not part of the root. Chop this off, it's not part of the root. The root must be this, you know.
Actually, all those first three, the vav, beit, and hey,
Are really the
very common.
very extremely common, extremely common. So, and I just want to mention this. I'm not sure if you're ready for me to quiz you on it, but how would you say? Here I go quizzing anyways. How would you say a cup? How would you say the cup first? The cup.
Hakos.
Hakos. Hakos. Okay. Hakos. Hakos. So how would you say a cup?
Kos.
Just kos. Don't read this cup, because in English we have a tendency to just say cup because we don't see the This is literally read a cup, okay? Or you'll find it sometimes another way. Let's try this. This will do. You don't really need it there, but you'll see it sometimes. So can you read this?
David Melech.
David Melech. So what does this say? What does it really say?
King David.
That would be, you could say that it says King David.
David the king.
There's no the there, so that doesn't fit. That would be David HaMelech, right?
All right.
David the king.
Yeah.
But just like this could be a couple different things, and this is incredibly important when we talk about Torah study.
King David.
This could say King David, right? Or it could say David is king, right? Because the is implied if there's no
Okay.
letters there.
Okay.
The is implied. David Melech, David is king, right? And this becomes extremely clear in context.
But David the king would be Hamelech.
Yeah, David the king would be David HaMelech, right. If we were to do this, oops. Okay. So Le'olam means forever, right? If we said David Melech Le'olam, how would you interpret, how would you translate this verse into English now?
David the king forever.
David is king forever. There is no the there, right?
Is.
David
Oh.
is king forever.
But if you had a hey here,
Then it's the.
this could say David the king forever,
But it would not.
which doesn't make a lot of sense. Or it could say David is the king forever, right? This is how you study Torah. The Torah is written in Hebrew. So you'll have to figure out how to work with this.
Okay.
David is implied the king forever. Le'olam. Okay? And we'll go slow, but we'll keep going through this stuff. So let's finish up.
Rati.
4 more on this sheet, and then there's 4 more that aren't on this sheet, and we're going to give you those 2. So, let's see here. Pick us a word.
With the cough as a...
Pick us a word. How about Melech, right? We were doing good with Melech. Is that straight for you? Just kidding. I really don't care. Melech. Melech means king. The next prefix we're going to cover is a chaf in the beginning of the word. So can you pronounce that? Kamelech. Kamelech. So a kaf, or a chaf or a kaf in the beginning of the word is a simile. Remember what a simile is? It means like or as. So a kaf in the beginning means like or as. So
Simile, similar to...
like a metaphor, but using like and as.
An express.
So can you translate this? If the prefix ka means like or as, and the root word melech means king, how would you say this in English? Kamocha, or kamelech in Hebrew. How do you say it in English? What's the translation?
Who is like you?
Not kamocha.
Oh,
Kamelech.
Oh, Kamelech.
As king, like king.
As king, as like king. So, not the, right? Because there's no ha, and it's not ka.
King.
Like a king.
Like a
This would be like a king, right? Remember, the is implied. It's not a separate word or a separate letter or anything like that. Not 100% sure, but I kind of think that this might follow the same rule as the bait. Whereas if you had a underneath it, it would be like the king. I'm not sure if that's true, though. It's definitely true for the bait. It's definitely true for the lamed, which we'll get to. But this is kamelech, like a king. Like a king.
Is there a Shiva inside the final cough?
So that's a good point. We, in the first, or in the class on vowels, right, class 3, we said if the last letter of the word doesn't have a sound, doesn't have an additional vowel on it, you just leave it blank. The overwhelming exception to that is this letter chaf at the end of a word. Very often you'll see it, and they'll put it real high,
Right.
like that, right?
Above the bottom line.
Above the rest of these, right. So very often you'll see this with a shiva. It's pretty much the only time you will see it, though. I don't think I've ever seen it with another letter than this. Very often, and this is one of the suffixes, but you'll see the patach in there like that. So we're going to cover that when we cover suffixes. But that's not a word, I just made that up.
With the patak, there would be
Commas.
a ka ending, right?
Yeah, well, like ch.
If it's a, or a comments, that was.
Comments, right.
Comments. If it's a patak, it's the ak rule.
No,
Oh, that's with a.
only with a chet, right.
Right.
The chet rule only with a chet, not a
But
kaf.
Or otherwise known as the Ach rule.
The ach rule, if you appreciate that, that's fine. That works good. So, k in the beginning, like or as. Like or as. And this is when we find things like Michael, right? Michael is who is like God. Or we say Mika Mocha, right? Who is like you?
Me is who, and who is me?
Right.
Who is like you?
Right. So, ka in the beginning, it's an easy one, like or as. No sweat. Next down the list. Sure, we'll do that. The example they give us here is Chaim. Remember what Chaim means?
Life. Oh, Chaim. Kai is life. Chaim is
Life. Life, plural.
okay.
Typically, when we talk about life, it gets a plural. And we're not talking about suffixes just yet. But this is the, and you'll know why we did this when you see it. So, sometimes you'll find a lamed as the prefix of your word. If there's a lamed in the beginning of the word, I like to think of it like a zugazin. Don't hold those in, it's bad for you. So this, if you could pronounce it, is, we say when we make a toast, you say, L'chaim, to life, to life. My dad's name is Chaim, so he always says to me.
To me.
So if you have a lamed in the beginning, it means to or it means for. So I like to think of it like a present. You get a present and it's got the little tag on that, and it'll say to and from, or sometimes it'll say for and from, right? To or for. Lamed, to or for. There are other uses of it, specifically in the Psalms. We don't really need to talk about that right now.
Is not the vowel point under the second yud?
There is no vowel point under the second yud. It's a servant yud. In fact, these last two letters are servant letters.
Kai, though, that first yud would be working with the ket patak as a silent yud, and the yim would be the last syllable being the second yud and the mem.
The second yud goes together with the chirik vowel under the yud and denotes that it's going to be not chai, stop, but chai, and then m, right? Chaim. Chaim. Want to try another one? Let's try, give us a noun. Drawing a blank. Menorah. Menorah. I don't even know how to spell menorah in Hebrew. Olam. Leolam, forever. That works good. We saw that before, right? Shoot, I did it again. Leolam, right? This means for. Olam means world or eternity, so forever, right? Oh, sorry. Leolam. Leolam. How about mom? Av is father in Hebrew. Aim is mom. It's very often it's im. I think this is how you were to pronounce this. So this would be la'im, to a mother, for a mother. And this one follows the same rule as the bait. So if we take the shava off and we turn it to a patach, and it goes la'im, la'im would be to the mother, right? The definite, the one that we know, right? Okay?
When my mother is would be ima.
Imi would be my mother. We're not doing suffixes yet, so. I know, I guess got to stop myself all the time. Another one that you'll see often is, and this was actually on your list that we handed out of the connective words. I'm not sure actually how this one comes out very often. La. I think it's something like this, but it might be over there. La'ad. So, ad means until, right? Ad means until. So this means for the or to the until, which would be, and you'll see this all the time when we were just talking about leolam, right? So you have leolam. Often you'll see it va'ed, right, as opposed to la'ad here, but you'll see it this way too. Leolam means forever. La'ad means and until. Forever or for and for the until. This is kind of a little bit weird. Usually you see it leolam va'ed, right? Or it would be something like this. And I think that if you do that, it actually turns to this, I think. So this is a very common term. We see it all the time. Leolam va'ed, right? Leolam va'ed means forever and ever, right? Forever and until, literally is what it means. But we mean it, we take it to mean forever and ever. So that's another easy one. Lamed in the beginning. What's next on our list? Mem, finally a tough one. So mem, any questions on Lamed before we move on to mem? Baruch Hashem, you're scribbling right away. No questions on Lamed? Okay. Mem. Okay, let's do this. You pronounce that? Mizrach. Mizrach means east. Sometimes you'll see a mem as your prefix. When you have a mem as your prefix, it means from. From. So how would you translate this into English? Mi Mizrach. Mi Mizrach. From the east. From the east. Okay. Often you'll see this pluralized. East is pretty specific. There's one east that we know of, right? It's that away. But sometimes you'll see this pluralized, and then it'll show up like that, like may, okay? So good one for this, I guess, would be can you pronounce that? May Eretz. May Eretz. You see this a bunch in the Bible. May Eretz Mitzrayim, right? God took us out from the land of Egypt, Mitzrayim, right? So mem in the beginning means from. Okay? However, that's not all that it means. Again, before we did mi Mizrach, because it was kind of singular. May Eretz, because the land, it could, which part of the land? It's more plural. But sometimes you won't see it with a chirik, the mi sound, and you won't see it with a tzere, the a sound. You'll see it with a shva. When you see your mem as the prefix to a word, and it doesn't have an a sound, but it has a silent, a shva, it no longer means from, okay? I suppose it could in certain situations, but I don't really see it like that very often.
What word? Give us an
I will give you an example. How do we say love in Hebrew? Ahava, right? You would have another hey here if you're doing ahava, right? Ahava. But we're going to take the hey off because the hey is not part of the root. Love is a three-letter root. Aleph, hey, bait. That's love. Okay. Can you pronounce that?
Is this where it turns a verb into a noun?
Right. This is if you see a mem with a shiva underneath it, so it's m, it's not me, it's not may, it's m, okay? It's going to turn a verb into a noun. So love is a verb, right? Could be a noun, I suppose. But can you pronounce this? Me'ahev. 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 This means lover, okay? So it turned the verb love into lover, right? The one who loves. Similarly, we see in Shabbat, right? The Kodesh. Mekadesh, what does Kodesh mean? Holy, right? So, Kiddush is sanctify, set apart. We're designating it, right? We say in the end of the bracha for the Amida on Shabbat, we say, Baruch atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbat, right? He sanctifies, he's the one who sanctifies the Sabbath, right? Blessed are you, God, you sanctify the Sabbath, right? So God is the one who's the sanctifier now, right? Sanctifier of the Sabbath. Just like love turns into lover.
Oh, okay. When you change the verbiage there from sanctifies the Sabbath to the sanctifier of the Shabbat, then I understood how it was turning it into a noun.
Right, right. And you'll see it a bunch of different ways. And people get liberal sometimes when it comes to translation, especially in prayers. So watch out for that. But know that this turns it in from a kiddush, right? Kiddush means sanctify. It's a verb. And now Makadesh is the one who sanctifies, okay? It's a person, Makadesh, the one who sanctifies. Me'ahev, right? The one who loves, or the lover, if you will. Okay?
It's always with the Shabbat.
Always with a Shabbat, if you're using it this way. Because if you were to say, if you were to do that, can you pronounce this word on top now? Well, mi'ahava, right? This would be from love, right? From love. Different.
That's me.
Different, because it's me now. It's not me. If it's me, you change some of the stuff around, and it turns into me'ahev, which is the lover, right? Or the one who loves. Melech me'ahev, the lover king, right? Or lover of my soul, etc. And there are many other examples. Many other examples.
Yeah, when you say it as lover or sanctifier, it's clear
That it's a noun now.
it's a noun.
Right.
The one, because when you got the whole phrase, the one who loves, the one who sanctifies, well, it's almost like, okay, I'm trying to pick out which is what.
Whichever you prefer, really. But then again, this is how you read the Hebrew. So you got to kind of take a little bit of that. You don't want to take too much liberty, but understand that when you're reading an English translation of your Bible, for example, or you're reading an English translation of some prayer, you got to know that people had to go through this kind of mental thought process to decide how it's going to turn up in English by the time it gets to you, right? Okay. One more. And then we're done with this sheet, and I'll give you the 4 special ones.
That requires a good working knowledge of the Hebrew and its use in syntax and any maybe possible exceptions to properly do that.
To properly do it, yes. But to give you a working knowledge, it's relatively easy, right? Mem in the beginning, it means from. If it's a me or a may, or if it's a ma, it means it turns it into a right? Put a on the end, I guess you could say.
It'll be a me or a may.
Me or a may for from, sure. And that's just singular and plural.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So may is plural?
Yep. If it's from something that's a plural, right? Then you'll use may. Like may eretz. Land is a plural. So it's implied, I guess. All right. Questions on the mem?
Okay, when you're saying that, it's not like may with a vowel, it's me'eretz, right?
No, may eretz. May eretz. Because because eretz is already a noun, so eretz is never going to happen, right? Let's just go over it one more time.
Okay, I got it. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong word. Yeah, got you. It's got the tzireh.
Tzireh, right. So if you see either of these two, it's from, okay? And this puts the on the end. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Kosh. Any additional questions on the mem? Ready for the shin? You'll like the shin. It's another easy one. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Shemayim is a combination of the 2 Hebrew words Aish and Mayim, fire and water, and that makes heaven. So Shemayim means heaven, okay? If you have a shin in the beginning of your word, and I know this is nice and tough because I could only think of words that began with shin for some reason. That's okay. This is not a great example at all. I apologize. Often you're going to see it. Okay. So this is not the way it's done, but we're going to learn it this way, okay? When you have a shin with a shiva in the beginning of a word, it's going to mean that which or who. That which or who, okay? So this would say that heaven, right? Even though this isn't the way to do it. So there's a general rule, and I'll wait until you're done writing to give it to you. So shin in the front, that which who. That which who, okay? That said, sh said, right? That said, there's a rule. You don't typically want 2 shivas to start off a word, right? It makes things all muddy. So typically, if you're going to have 2 shivas as your 2 vowels to start the word, you turn the first one into a chirich, okay? General heuristic rule of thumb. So this wouldn't be shishamayim, this would be shishmayim, okay? So this is that or which heaven blank, right? That heaven established, which heaven foresaw, whatever, okay?
Because in the middle of a word, the 2 shivas together.
In the middle is okay. In the beginning, not so much.
Then when 2 shivas go together walking, the second one does the talking.
Hey, I like that. I like that. Can we think of an example real quick for that?
Nafshika.
Nafshecha. Beautiful. All right, so to Bob's point, Okay? This says nafshecha. If you have two silents in the beginning of a word, right, you want to try to turn that first one to an E sound if you can. If you have two silents in the middle of a word, the first one is a hard stop. The second one gets a half syllable. Okay? First one gives a hard stop. Second one gives a half syllable. So this isn't nafishcha. It's not nafishcha. This is nafshecha. Okay? Naf, hard stop, shecha. Small pause, or half syllable. Nafshecha. So, we did vowels last week, but there you have it. Or the week before, rather.
This was from a different Hebrew class, and
Oh, really?
I've seen that. I looked it over today, and I said, that's pretty neat.
Well, it's little rules like this that kind of give you that familiarity with the language, that you can look at something and be like, hey, it should sound like this, you know? These little rules of thumb.
This becomes you change it to a kiri, She.
I can't help myself. I got to. It's like I'm giving it away, right?
What was that other word, though, you had when you changed it to a kirik, and it would have been
Shishmayim?
Mayim.
That heaven, or which heaven, whatever you want for the word that comes after that. That heaven saw, that heaven did, that heaven foretold, which heaven decided, whatever. We didn't have a second word there to give it action. Can you pronounce this? Sheb Shemayim, right? Sheb Shemayim. Sheb Shemayim, Sheb Shemayim. The root word here is Shemayim, which means it's actually a compound word. It means heaven. Okay? So what is the translation of this in English? Sheb Shemayim. The one who is in the heaven, right? And you could probably emphasize that, right, by putting this as a...
It says the one who is in the heavens, or it just says
Yeah.
in the heavens?
Well, it's referring to the one.
Typically, you're going to see this with, well, not always, but often enough. Can you read that top word? Avinu. Avinu Shebeshemayim. Can we think of any prayers that might start off Avinu Shebeshemayim?
Yeah.
Right?
Our Father.
Yeah, it's the one the Pope's trying to change. Sorry. So this is our Father who is in the heaven, right? Our Father who's in heaven. And again, I usually see it, I think, with a Shiva here, because it's just a little bit overkill with the in there. Our Father that is in heaven, our Father which is in heaven, our Father who is in heaven. You see how the sh works now in the beginning of a word? Is that helpful for people? Avinu Shebeshemayim, our Father who is in heaven. Question?
Well, I don't know what has the Segal. I don't know what the rule is for that.
I don't either. But 3 silence in the beginning of the word is definitely way too much. So that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can have that flexibility to play around with it a little bit. Again,
Because 2 is tricky enough.
it's tricky enough, right? So like sometimes they'll even put in a servant letter in the middle of a root just so that it flows better. Okay? I could give you an example, but I'm not going to do that. I think it'll confuse you. So sometimes, just know that sometimes there's a little bit of flexibility so that the word sounds smoother. And that might be, I think, the answer to your question. We cool on the shin? What happens if you have a shin in the beginning of a word? What's it mean? That which who. Perfect. That's all you got to know. Now, it probably is a good point to mention. I had on your sheet of stuff that you should learn for this week. Funny guy, right? This word, this connective word, we pronounce this? Asher. Asher. Asher means very similar to the shin as a prefix, right? Asher means that or which. We say Baruch atah Hashem, Asher kidshanu, right? Who has sanctified us? That which sanctified us, right? That or which, or sometimes even who. So sometimes it's not appropriate, or it doesn't fit right, or it's not working right, so you don't have the shin as the prefix, which means that or which. You'll have a full extra word, asher, that comes before the word. For example, asher kiddushanu, that sanctified us b'mitzvotav, with his commandments. Since this is a word like anything else, it can have its own prefixes and suffixes. A very common one that you'll see. And don't get crazy with the Shabbat there, but you can pronounce that. I'm going to test you to see if you pronounce it right, too.
Kasher.
Kasher. Kasher, right? Remember, the second syllable is a little bit quick because of the Shabbat there.
That's what is it called?
Khataf or something? The small one, the short one, right? Kasher. So this would be like that, or as which, right? Something like that. And again, you're just going to find this trying to link sentences together to make it work. Okay? Not the biggest deal in the world, but I thought I'd show you. All right. We're on to the special four. So this kind of concludes the list of, what do we got here? 7 prefixes that are on the top of this sheet. Below, it's talking about some suffixes. We're going to talk about suffixes in a bit. But in maybe the space below, possibly, I have 4 more prefixes for you that aren't on this sheet. If you'd like to write them down, now would be a really good time to do that. And that would probably be a pretty good place to do that.
4 more prefixes?
4 more prefixes. We have the word Eitan. Eitan. Which also, if you can jumble the letters, you got to know your jumbles. Spells Tanya, right? Tanya is Aramaic, so don't worry if it looks weird for you. So these 4 letters, again, Tanya is helpful for me to remember it because the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, which is an amazing book that everybody should read. Please go read the Tanya. But it also spells the same word as Eitan. Eitan is a river, but it means strength, okay? Eitan means strength. Tanya gives us strength. And these 4 letters of strength here are going to be prefixes which will propel your word into the future. Sounds exciting, right? So let's give us some examples. Pick us a word.
Say that again, prefixes, which what?
Propel your word into the future. They make it future tense.
Okay.
Future tense letters.
How did you spell Tanya?
Tav, Nun, Yud, Aleph. Again, it's Aramaic, so don't worry about that.
So these are prefixes that are going to go with verbs.
Oh, in Hebrew,
Sure.
that would be
Yes.
hey at the end.
Yes, indeed. In Hebrew, it'd probably be a hey at the end, right? In Aramaic, you have a lot of alephs at the end of a word.
That's what
Don't
we're
get confused. Don't get confused. So Eitan, right? Eitan means strength. Let's pick us a verb. Shema. Shema. We did Shema earlier. That works. Shema means hear, listen, right? Listen, right? It's not what I'm trying to say. It's okay. So what were our 4 letters that we used? Tav, Nun, Yud, Aleph, all right? Or Aleph, Yud, Tav, Nun, right? Thank you. So let's start with an Aleph. Don't get caught up so much with the vowels that I'm using. They'll change, okay? They'll change. Can you read the top word? Eshma. Eshma means not hear or listen, but the aleph means it's going to be future tense, and the aleph means it's going to be me or my or I, okay? So this now says, I will hear, okay? I will hear is what eshma means. Eshma means I will hear. And again, this could be with any verb, right? I will, what is it? Edaber, right? I will speak. Eyoshev, I will sit. Ealmid, I will stand. Ahalach, I will walk. Usually an E in the beginning. Sometimes it's a E, but that's okay. Aleph in the beginning. Aleph as the prefix means future tense about me. Okay? The Yud Yishma. Am I going too fast? Yishma, okay? Yishma means future tense, no subject, okay? So this is just plain will hear. Eshma, I will hear. Yishma, will hear. We talk about Mashiach sometimes, and we say, you know how to say come in Hebrew? Bo, right? So in, it's a little bit high. This word down here, we say hu, which means he, but we say hu yavo, right? He, yavo, will come, right? Will hear, will come, okay? Just will. And of course, if it's just will, you're going to need to put your own subject in someplace else, okay? So for example, the example I used was Mashiach, right? Well, oops. Sorry, it's all smushed down there. But this says Mashiach, and there should be a bigger space here. Mashiach yavo. Mashiach will come, right? Mashiach will come. Okay. No use in beating a dead donkey, right? All right. Let's move on. Eshma, I will hear. Yishma, will hear. Plain will hear. What's the next one? Tav? Tishma. Tishma. Tishma means you will hear. Okay? I will hear, you will hear. Tishma, you will hear. And very often you're going to find a tav as a prefix in a word, and this is going to imply that it's you. For example, the word for thanks or thanksgiving or thankfulness, right, in Hebrew is hod, right? We say hodu la Hashem ki tov, right? Give thanks to God because he's good. When you say, somebody hands you something, I say, Bob, would you get me a cup of coffee? And he says, here you go. I say todah, right? Todah, because this hod and this is a unique rule when the first letter of a root word is a hey, these prefixes will replace it, okay? Very rare rule, but it happens. In fact, Torah is like this as well. So it's not hoda, but it's todah, which means thank you, because the tav in the beginning means, okay? You will hear or thank you.
So when the word begins with a hey,
And another example of this would be Torah, right? Torah comes from Horah, which means learn, teaching, a teaching of some sort. We say Torah because it's the teaching that he taught us, right? Torah. Let's do the last one. Famous thing. Nishma. Nishma means we. We will hear. We will hear. Famous in the Torah. It says when God gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai, what did the Jewish people respond? Na'aseh v'nishma. Na'aseh v'nishma. Okay? I'll write it for you. So, going from down to up. The Jewish people responded, Na'aseh v'nishma, right? I'll even give you the v. Okay? So this means we will do, aseh, like asiya, the world we're in. Aseh means do, action. So we will do, v, and nishma, we will listen, right? When we got the Torah, see, we said, yes, God, we'll do whatever you say. And then afterwards, we will listen, we will understand, we will, by doing it, we will learn it, right? That's what that's what we said to God when he gave us the Torah. Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will understand. Did I erase that too quick for you? I'm so sorry. Do you want me to write it again? Do you want me to write it again?
We will do Na'aseh
Na'aseh.
and
V.
Nishma.
We will listen. We will do and we will listen. Or the implication here is understand.
And we listen and we.
Right. Very good.
The implication is, and we will then understand.
That's why it comes second, right? It comes second in the verse for a reason. It's not we're going to understand it, God, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but we have to understand that this is the way God expects us to serve him. We can't say, oh, there's a mitzvah. Deuteronomy 8, chapter 8, verse 10 says, after you eat and you're satisfied, you should bless the Lord your God for the good land which he gave you. You can't sit there and say, oh, I'm going to understand that commandment first, and I want to know everything there is to know about it, and then maybe I'll do it, right? You cannot do that. You have to do it first, and then by doing it, you will understand it, right? God expects our obedience. We live in this world for a reason, okay? I'm off my soapbox.
So the knee, we had Aleph, Tav.
Yeah, so let's go right down the line.
Aleph, Yud, Tav, Nun.
In fact, maybe we could do this, and it'll be good. Maybe it'll be bad. I don't know. We're going to try though. All right, how's that? I don't know if this is going to look good on the camera, but hopefully it looks good for you guys. So from the top, Eshma. Eshma means I will hear. Yishma, will hear. Just plain will hear. Tishma, you will hear. Nishma, we will hear. Ni. Also, if you find the nun at the end of a word, it implies our, right? And we're not doing suffixes just yet, but Avinu, our Father, right? So the nun, whether it's a prefix or a suffix, really means us. Anenu, right? Answer us. Anenu, the famous prayer that we say on a fast day. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Very good.
So you just
Perfect.
threw that in, the knee as a prefix or as a suffix.
Yeah, we haven't covered the suffix yet, but we will. And you'll find out then that it is also implying us corporately, right? Okay, so we've covered a lot of prefixes tonight. I think we're going to actually cut short, and we're going to extend Class 5 here into Class 5 Part B next week, and we'll cover suffixes then. So for right now, let's do a quick review of the prefixes that we learned. I'm going to give us a, let's Let's give us a word. How about Yerushalayim? That's huge. It's too big. How about shalom? Whatever we want. All right, shalom means peace. Okay. If I were to put a vav there, how, again, shalom means peace, right? What about this? First pronounce it and then translate it. Vishalom and peace. Vishalom and peace. Similarly, well, no similarly. If we had a word, if this for some reason was a shiva, then we would want to change this v to a u, right? That's what I wanted to point out. Shlom, right? This would probably be more common if you find like shlema, right, with perfection. Shalom, the root shin lamed mem means whole. Yeah, W-H-O-L-E. Okay, next one down the list. What is this? Please pronounce it and translate it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I kept the mess up. Here I am trying to trick you. This was supposed to be an easy one. B'shalom, right? B'shalom. Actually, shalom is with the comments, isn't it? B'shalom. What if it wasn't b'shalom, but it was?
And that would mean like with peace, right?
B'shalom means in peace.
In peace.
What about bashalom?
With the peace.
In the peace. In the peace, or with the peace, sure. Typically, b in the beginning means in, but again, like we said, it could be any preposition, really.
It gives the list in, on, with, by.
Right.
It says etc.
Etc. Right. Any preposition. There are certain words that are more specific, right? For example, al means specifically on, like on top of, right? Tachat means underneath, like tuchis, right? Which is your tush. So there are some words that are more descriptive than the b, right? But in general, it's a preposition. Okay. Next on the list. This should be an easy one. Please pronounce and translate.
Hashalom.
Hashalom. Hashalom means the peace. The peace. Interestingly enough, we say Oseh Shalom Bimroma, right? He who makes peace on high. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, may he make peace for us, right? We say this at the end of the Kaddish or at the end of an Amida, etc., etc. On the days of awe, right between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we change it to Hashalom, right? The peace, specifically. Just a little fun fact for you to go in.
In the gray box.
It's in the gray box, right? Watch out for those gray boxes. All right, what's next? Please pronounce and translate.
Keshalom.
Keshalom. Keshalom. Keshalom means
Like the peace.
like peace. Like peace.
Like peace.
Like peace, or as peace. I'm not sure when you would need to use that, but I'm not changing the root word, so there you go.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's good to be consistent. Well, I'm in.
Please pronounce and translate.
Leshalom.
L'shalom. L'shalom. That's how you pronounce it. How do you translate it?
Two piece, four piece.
Two piece, four piece, right? What if we did this?
We normally say l'chaim.
L'chaim. L'shalom. Hey, okay, that's fine. What about to the peace? La shalom. To the peace specifically. Perfect. Beautiful. Wondrous. Please pronounce and translate.
Shalom.
Mishalom. Mishalom means
From peace.
from peace. From peace. We should want to go mishalom la shalom, right? From peace to peace. Eh? That sounds good. What if you had it like
Very
this?
similar to Lador, or what is it?
Lador vador.
Lador.
And that's, it's spelled a little bit weird, but that's fine. Good example. How about this one?
That's the beginning.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Mishalom. Mishalom. Now this is kind of tough because shalom is already a noun, right? But we would say like maybe this would mean, because I didn't want to change the root, to make peace, right? The one who makes peace. The one who makes peace is probably what this would be. Again, I'm sorry, I didn't want to change the root. The peacer, the one who makes the peace, yeah? Very good. Right? Please pronounce and attempt to translate.
Shalom.
Sheshalom.
And that would be the one who makes peace. Here's what it refers to.
This would be that or which in the beginning, right? So this would be that peace.
That's the noun.
So we could say like that peace established, right? Amed means stand, right? So this is something that peace established, okay? Or something which peace established, okay? Sure in the beginning is which, or that, or sometimes who, okay? Let's, since I'm thinking about it, we're moving on to the next one anyways. Let's see if I can give you one of these. Can you pronounce and translate that? Remember, bo or vo here means come, like to come in the room. Hashalom sheyavo. Can you translate that? Remember, this one's got two prefixes on it, so watch out.
The peace which will come.
The peace that will come, or the peace which will come. Absolutely perfect. Baruch Hashem. So again, if you can start picking off some of these prefixes, and next week we'll do suffixes, you'll be able to identify roots better, and that's memorizing the language. All right, well, we did yud, right? Let's get a verb here. Give me a verb. Yoshev. Yoshev. Yoshev means to sit, right? What if we had I bet you. I'm not 100% sure on this one. I bet you this would probably look something like that. I will sit, Ashev, right? And you'll see this sometimes too. If the beginning letter of the root word is a yud, sometimes that'll get absorbed into a vowel. Perfect example would be, I said I wasn't going to write it too. So this, it wouldn't be Le Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem. It would be Li Yerushalayim. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay?
The kirik, the yud becomes a silent.
It acts like a servant letter, but it has to be there because it's part of the root, right? Okay. So that was a tricky one. How about, we'll go back to do. That might be a little easier, huh? It's okay. Let's try this. You ever seen so many dots? Can you pronounce and translate, please? Oops. Sorry. Yes. This means esse, ase, asiya means do, action. Okay, so this means will do. Will do. Right? You say it to people sometimes, right? Will do. I'm not sure if they say it over there, but that's okay. How about that? Pronounce and translate. Te'eseh, which means?
You will do.
You will do. You will do. Very good. Last one for today. Nah. I think this one's actually with the ahs, right? Please pronounce and translate. Na'aseh, we just used it before, right? Na'aseh, we will do. We will do. So those are the prefixes I got for you. As far as I know, this list is pretty extensive, but there might be other ones that I don't know about as well. Sometimes you'll also see compound words. You know, for example, we used shemayim. Shemayim is a compound word of fire and water. Yerushalayim is a compound word of fear and peace. Or it could be other things too. There's much discussion on that. But these are the prefixes. So next week we'll gather. We will na'aseh, we will do, right? Nishma, we will hear. And we will cover suffixes.
We will understand.
Bezrat Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. Understand would be namavina, right? All right. So Baruch Hashem. Any questions before we close? Okay. All right, we'll close with a brief word of prayer. Ribbono Shel Olam, Master of the Universe, thank you again for your wonderful language, which is so fascinating and interesting. Please bless us again with your wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that we should be able to learn it and understand it quickly, so we should be able to enjoy more intimacy with you, which with your help will hasten the coming of Mashiach. May he come speedily in our days. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Next week, we'll do suffixes. And I guess we'll just have this kind of move the schedule down a little bit. So we will push Bible codes to week 7. And week 6 will just be suffixes, okay? Sound good?